Bring in Pete Hegseth. He's an Iraq and Afghanistan war vet, and he's CEO of Concerned Veterans America. Pete, your thoughts on that? I mean, we're not trying to put blame on anybody other than the shooter here, but we want to look at how we can better protect our men and women on these bases.
I think the Colonel's onto something. You talk about staff NCOs or officers assigned. The Commandant of the Marine Corps brought this idea up late in 2013 after the Navy Yard shooting, the idea that you have assigned individuals within a unit who have a firearm. You may not want to go down the road of anyone who has a concealed permit carrying a weapon on post for reasons the Colonel and I have experienced on active duty. You want to maintain discipline and order within your unit and who's carrying and who's not. And most of the time you're assigning weapons to go out to the range or for a military operation. But it does make sense. You're under a veil of a protection on a base where it's an honor system. There's guards at the front gate protecting who can come in and who cannot. But otherwise, it's the military police or other guards who are charged with providing that safety. And otherwise, you are, as the Colonel said, in many ways sitting ducks if someone decides to go rogue.
And there's something. I mean, I understand how people worry about arming everybody on board on these bases, and a lot of these guys are suffering from PTSD and so on, and there are potential issues there, and yet the notion of really not trusting the vast majority of our men and women in uniform to whom we give guns to not use them on one another also raises questions for a lot of folks, Pete.
I think it does. We trust young 18, 19-year-old soldiers, Marines, and others to go into combat and defend us on our behalf. And we give them a great deal of responsibility. And I think we recognize with that responsibility, there's a lot that comes with that responsibility here on post in the United States. Sometimes, and we've seen this, the Colonel's seen it too, commands can be very safety conscious. We want to dial back any risk whatsoever. And even on post and even sometimes on deployment, ammunition is withheld more than it should be. I think we need to be entrusting junior leaders and others to make the tough decisions on site. I'm not saying you arm everybody. That's not what we're talking about here. Yeah. But sometimes risk mitigation can go too far, which means you've got a bunch of unarmed people in particular situations that can't fend for themselves.
Colonel, last thought. What is likely going on right now as we await this news conference at Fort Hood?
Well, I can tell you at the command level, every single person in the chain of command for that soldier is being asked, what were the indicators and warnings that you saw. They're looking at, like I said, his barracks room or his off-post residence. They're trying to piece together, the motive, because that's the most important thing to understand.
Very good of you to be here. Pete, you as well. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
We'll be right back.